Good morning, and thank you for joining us from all over the world for the Global Workshop on Gender Equality in Public Administration, a collaborative project we have been so proud to co-lead with our UNDP colleagues for the last 7 years. My name is Müge Finkel, and with my colleague, Melanie Hughes, as the co-directors of Girl at Pitt, we have the privilege of welcoming you to the University of Pittsburgh, even if it is virtually. Before we start, a few logistical reminders. You can find this morning's agenda with the list of panels and exceptional panelists on the chat, as well as at girl.pitt.edu. We ask you to please post your questions in the Q&A. Our colleagues will be monitoring them for us, and if we run out of time to answer them live, we will reach out to you with our responses after the event. Finally, we also like to remind you that the workshop will be recorded and recordings will be available at the GIRL website in the coming weeks. In this opening session of welcomes, we now turn to our speakers. Speaking first will be the University of Pittsburgh Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ann Cutt, followed by the Dean of the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs, Dr. Carissa Slaughterback, who will then invite the UNDP Deputy Assistant Administrator and Deputy Director of Bureau of External Relations and Advocacy, Gülden Türköz-Koslet. With a heartfelt thank you to all of you, I now turn the floor to Provost Cutt. Thank you.
Thank you, Müge. Thanks for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pitt Femocrats. I'm delighted to be part of this, to have the chance to welcome you all to the University of Pittsburgh, virtually, of course. I know this will be a truly insightful, progressive workshop and one with far-reaching impact. It was really quite remarkable when in July of this year, we gathered at the launch of the latest Gender Equity in Public Administration report, or I'm going to call it Gepa. I hope that's how you pronounce that acronym, a deeply comprehensive research report incorporating data from 170 countries. At the University of Pittsburgh, we understand the urgency and are so proud to be with our partners today who are of like minds. The collaboration between the United Nations Development Program and the Gender Inequality Research Lab, or GIRL, an awesome acronym, at the University of Pittsburgh is firmly pointing to the progress we must make. Without doubt, the Gepa report has not only been a wake-up call, but also offers us a way forward. Today's event is a great example. The topics set to be discussed could not be more important or, unfortunately, more prevalent. So first of all, glass ceilings. I've been empowered to break through a number of them, but there are so many women who need to be able to do the same. And secondly, glass walls. And it's really vital that gender equality be realized across policy areas. And third, gender inequalities during COVID. We know that gender inequalities in public institutions have hampered the effort to respond to the pandemic. I want to acknowledge and thank the distinguished panelists here with us today. What an amazing group of scholars, practitioners, and oh so bright students. Thank you for bringing your global expertise and perspectives to Pittsburgh today. And I want to give a special welcome to UNDP panelist, Andrea Quesada Aguilar, the Gender, Sustainable Development, and Environmental Specialist at UNDP. We are so proud to say that she's a Pitt grad, and this is a homecoming. I also think that the work of the students involved in this research is particularly important. After all, it is future generations who will lend their talents, passions, and intellects to further our common cause. Here at the University of Pittsburgh, we are committed to contributing to addressing global issues through collaborations and conversations. Gender equality and diversity are keys to improving government function. First and foremost, women have the right to participate fully and equally in public life. The Gepa report shows that gender parity in public administration varies across country, all the way from 6% to 77%. And it also shows that women are underrepresented in 15 of 20 policy areas. As well, Women are underrepresented on COVID-19 task forces. Finding the keys to address these realities and more will lead to a better and more equitable quality of life for us all. I thank you for your dedication and for your transformative voices, and I look forward to the outcomes of today's workshop and all the positive change ahead. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Carissa Slaughterback, Dean of Pitt's Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. Carissa joined us at Pitt in 2020 after serving as Associate Dean of the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota. She's widely recognized for her research and teaching on public engagement and decision-making in environmental, land use, and transportation planning. She has led numerous initiatives focused on interdisciplinary and engaged research and education, and has had leadership roles with the Association of Collegiate Schools of Planning. She's also been a tremendous champion of the UNDP, University of Pittsburgh collaboration. Carissa?
Great. Thank you, Provost Cudd. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the leaders, policymakers, advocates, academics, and students who are joining us today in Pittsburgh and around the world. I'm Carissa Slaughterback, and I'm the Dean of the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs here at the University of Pittsburgh, and it's my really great pleasure to add my welcome for today's workshop. It's also an absolute honor for Gepa and the University of Pittsburgh to host this global workshop, along with the UN Development Program. This collaboration between the Gender Inequality Research Lab, or GIRL, and UNDP is a true demonstration of the power and impact of partnerships between academic institutions and global organizations in tackling critical challenges facing our communities and our society. In this effort, we saw the application of knowledge to generate essential data that can help us understand disparities in women's representation in public administration as women hit both glass ceilings and glass walls. These data, as you'll hear today from our Pitt experts as well as UNDP experts, have also demonstrated the extraordinary impact that women have when they are at the table on issues such as the COVID-19 pandemic. As we consider broader contexts of climate change, of human and environmental health, development, education, and more, there is much in the story that these data tell that is transferable and that should drive us to action in our institutions. I'm eager to learn more today about this important research, this inspiring collaboration, and about the actions that I and we can all take to ensure that the next data set and the future story that it tells becomes one of shattered ceilings and shattered walls, of creating more inclusive and representative institutions, and of centering the interests and experiences of all in our society. Thank you so much to the UNDP partners, to Dr. Myoge Finkel from the School of Public and International Affairs, to Dr. Melanie Hughes from the Department of Sociology at the University of Pittsburgh. Thank you so much to our UNDP experts and guests. And thanks as well, and especially to the many current and past Gepa students who have contributed their time and their knowledge to this work. My very best for a productive and inspiring workshop. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. And I'm pleased now to turn it over to Golden Turkos-Koslet, our next speaker. She is a national of Turkey and the Deputy Assistant Administrator and Deputy Director of the Bureau of External Relations and Advocacy at UNDP since 2015. Prior to this, she was Director of Programs with UN Women. She also served in the Office of the UN Deputy Secretary General as Senior Advisor on System-Wide Coherence, where she led the transition team supporting the establishment of UN Women. Prior to that, she served the UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative in Albania, where she led the delivering of One UN initiative. Before this, she was a team leader for the Central Asia Cluster in UNDP's Regional Bureau of Europe and the Commonwealth of the Independent States. Much more to say about Golden's expertise and knowledge and contribution to this work, and I'll turn it over to her to add her welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues and friends, Provost Anne, Dean Carissa, Muge, and my colleagues from UNDP. It's such a pleasure to join you this morning from New York. It is virtual, but it is very exciting to be here amongst all of you. And I can't tell you how excited I am anytime Raquel invites me to anything related to our gender work. So thank you, Raquel, also. To advance gender equality, we continue to need more and better data to help pinpoint the gaps and establish the best solutions to tackle the serious disparities we face today. The Global Gender Equality in Public Administration report prepared by the United Nations Development Program and the University of Pittsburgh this past July for us is a powerful example of what can be achieved when we join forces. As you've said earlier, the report is the first comprehensive in-depth research into this important issue, covering 170 countries, providing crucial data and analysis on the challenges and opportunities for women's equal participation and decision-making in public administration. It helps identify barriers to women's leadership, but also ways to break them. The research shows that when women take leadership roles in public administration, governments are more responsive and more accountable. Also, the quality of public services delivered significantly improves, while public confidence in state organizations is also boosted. However, despite the widespread evidence of these benefits, women continue to face glass walls and glass ceilings in public institutions, including in the COVID-19 recovery. I was very interested to see and sad to see that the report finds that on average, women make up 46% of public administrators worldwide, yet they occupy just 31% of top leadership positions. Women are also being left out of key decision-making roles, including in health and environment ministries, as well as government task forces on COVID-19. While 58% of employees in health ministries are women, they average only 34% of decision-making positions. So bottom line, colleagues, as the level of decision-making power and influence increases, women's involvement and leadership numbers decline. These findings are very concerning, especially when we're determining currently how to build forward better from the pandemic. How can we have an equitable recovery if women are missing from the table? How can we ensure that women's voices and needs are included if they're underrepresented in leadership positions? The simple answer is we can't. We can't afford to do that. Women must be able to play a full role in shaping the pivotal decisions being made right now as countries respond to and recover from the COVID-19 crisis. These are decisions that impact everyone. Women's participation is even more vital today as the pandemic threatens to set back global progress on gender equality gains. As the agency responsible for compiling and verifying country data on SDG 16.7(1)b, which measures representation in public service, this new research also enables our country offices of the UN Development Program to support countries to report on progress towards gender parity in public institutions. It also concretely outlines how we can boost progress towards gender equality and the Sustainable Development Goals. This is why I'm so pleased that we have the opportunity today to do a deep dive into the data, research, and recommendations of the Gepa report. There's much to cover and discuss from this robust report. By bringing together development experts, academics, students, practitioners, we can collectively chart out the best path forward to build more inclusive, participatory, and representative institutions. I really look forward to today's discussions and insights, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gülden. We are so excited to have you join us today. And to all of our participants, all 120 I think 170 at this point of all of our participants. Welcome to our workshop. I am sure you can all tell the excitement that we're having, especially to be able to start our workshop with a panel of women who have all broken glass ceilings and glass walls. So we are off to a wonderful start, and we now invite you to our first it's not our panel, it is our introductory setup, so we can tell you a little bit very briefly about our collaboration and our report before we yield the floor to our student presentations. Thank you. With that, I invite Raquel to lead us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muge, and welcome again to everyone, partners, colleagues, and friends. Thank you for joining us from different parts of the world. So I wanted to thank, first of all, our colleagues from the Gender Inequality Research Lab at the University of Pittsburgh for hosting this workshop. So, but also for the partnership with us through, as Muge said, many years. In particular, Muge and Melanie, that are at the core, at the helmet of the research and the work on the Gepa working group on gender inequalities of the research lab at Pittsburgh. So I wanted to thank them not for the good, rigorous work that they are doing, also for the passion and for the commitment beyond borders, we can say. So I'm working hard to build a better world for all of us. So I really thank them, and we are very lucky to have them working together with UNDP. For UNDP, there are many people that we also need to thank here today, internal teams, and I wanted to mention especially our regional advisors, Baharati, Sadasivam, Rania Tarazi, Frances Guy, Guillermina Martin, Odette Cavalla, and Komiya Miyaoi. So they have been instrumental in the success of this initiative. So, and of course, hosting the research fellows from Pittsburgh University and interns. So why Gepa? I think that's the panelists that the opening words made the case, right, to understand why we need to still be working on women's in public administration. As the Secretary General flagged recently, this is the time to redress the global power imbalance. So even in the context of COVID, is the time to shape the world into a more just and gender equal society. So I wanted to underline the urgency of this in the context of the last week and this week Glasgow, the COP26, where we can see that it's particularly relevant how, despite women being disproportionately impacted by the climate change, climate crisis, women's participation is just an example on environmental protection ministries is among the lowest of the 20 policy areas examined by the Gepa report. And you will see this later with Muge and Melanie. So it averages 33% globally, and parity in decision-making in environment protection is really rare. So this is just an example of how important will be to have a representation of women in leadership teams, including in the delegations, right, of the climate negotiations. For instance, you can see this in the newspapers, how the majority are men. So if we want effective action, we need more women there and everywhere, I would say. So I wanted to share with you that in UNDP, we believe that we must definitely strive for gender equality in public administration for three fundamental reasons. First, because women have the right to participate in decision making. So it is established in the CEDAW Convention, the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination of Women. It is established in Beijing, Platform of Action, and in the Agenda 2030. So second, public administrations should be representative of the society, right? And tap into the full potential of the workforce. That's the second reason. Good governance and democracy requires inclusive leadership and representation. So while men and women are equally responsible for achieving gender equality, a larger number of women in office can definitely, we believe, can influence responsive public policies and institutional practices. So there is also the case for claiming for the pool of talent and increasing the diversity in teams versus and in public administration. It will lead to the increase of creativity, of ideas, solution proposals. So the final outcomes of public administration, which are public policies, will be definitely stronger. So the third reason, and I'm going to close here, is that women's equal participation in decision-making, including in public administration, is going to contribute to development, to human and sustainable development, is a core factor to succeed. So women in public administration may also help governments function better, so improving service delivery, encouraging citizen engagement, or increasing trust and confidence in the government. So this is another core of package of reasons to work on this area and prioritize this area for UNDP. So as Muge said, we are working together. We produced, we released the first gender UNDP Gender Equality in Public Administration report in 2014. We started working together in 2011, and between 2014 and now, and thanks to this work of Pittsburgh, the Oslo Governance Center, UNDP Oslo Governance Center, and UNDP also as a whole, now today we have Tier 2 status of the SDG 16, 7.1b, which sounds very, very kind of weird, all these letters, the nomenclature, but it means that today there is a global mandate to measure the proportion of women's representation at all levels in public service. And this is a big, big achievement. So that's why it makes sense to work together with the university hand on hand for UNDP, UN agency, and with the practitioners and the academia to produce the best data that we can gather. So I will stop here. As you said, this report have covered 170 countries, and the report is going, and in fact is serving to build this evidence on gender equality, to inform policy making, policymakers, and ensure that gender equality is at the center of the discussion and the agenda, and to push gender equality into the governance debates, so for a new social contract. So thank you so much for being here with us. And now I will turn to our partners from the University of Pittsburgh, who have a lot to share with you coming from the report. Thank you so much. Over to Melanie and Muge.
Thank you, Raquel. It's truly a delight to have partners like yourselves and to be able to kind of share the passion and do the work. We at Pitt were invited to collaborate with the UNDP on the Gepa initiative in 2015 when we formed the first Gepa working group as an interdisciplinary graduate student research collective. Since then, each academic year, the Gepa working group has included, on average, 20 to 25 students from a range of academic disciplines, voluntarily contributing 1,500 research hours per year. You will be meeting this year's cohort shortly in the next 3 panel presentations. As you can also see from the summary in this figure, our work has evolved through the years. In collaboration with our UNDP partners, we began by mapping the publicly available public administration data. We collected, analyzed, and visualized these data to understand the trends that capture women's overall participation in their public administrations, as well as their representation in leadership ranks. We have also studied women's participation in public decision-making in conflict-affected settings, as well as in policy areas as environment and health. We have had opportunities, much thanks to our partners, to present our research in numerous venues, including presentations at the UN Secretariat in New York and the UN Commission on the Status of Women. Last year, we co-produced the 2021 Gepa Global Report on Gender Equality in Public Administration and launched it July of this year. This report, which takes stock of the public administration data, policy, and progress towards gender equality globally, also provides the analyses and the framework for our discussions in the workshop today. Again, as you can see, we are now at a point in our research, it is prudent to ask what is next, especially as we consider how we can use this research to advance and contribute to the policy and programming agendas of our partners in the UNDP. The success and energy of the Gepa working group, and in particular the mutually beneficial partnership, has led us to consider ways in which we can build on this experience. And in November 2017, we launched the Gender Inequality Research Lab, affectionately known as GIRL, with broad support from the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs, School of Arts and Sciences, and across the university, at a global workshop which brought together scholars, practitioners from a variety of institutions in a much similar setting as we have here today. We are proud and delighted to note that many of the workshop participants who were with us then, as captured in this photo, are also joining us again today. We are grateful for their continued support. Since its inception, GIRL continues to serve as an interdisciplinary virtual research hub for scholars and practitioners to collaborate on policy-relevant research on gender inequality. In addition to launching GIRL, our collaboration has allowed us to create GenPACS, the Gender Parity in Civil Service dataset. It is the first global dataset that houses publicly available gender disaggregated data and statistics on public administration. GenPACS currently has data on 170 countries between the years of 1951 and 2020. It includes overall numbers and percentages of women, men, and others working in public administration, together with gender disaggregated statistics by decision-making level, sector, ministry, and/or agency, employment type, government level, and demographic or population group. We are currently working to make GenPACS publicly available in the coming year at our website. And in doing so, we hope that these data will both ignite scholarly research and foster evidence-based policymaking to enable global progress towards greater gender equality, diversity, inclusion in public institutions.
Well, we will be presenting results based on GenPACS data in the next 3 panels today. We wanted first to pique your curiosity by showcasing a few features of our unique data set. First, we have good news. As shown in this figure, the availability of gender disaggregated public administration data has improved over time. National statistical offices and civil service commissions are increasingly reporting gender disaggregated statistics on their public administrators. Organizations such as UNDP, OECD, and the European Union have partnered with governments to collect and disseminate statistics on women's participation and representation in public administration across countries. As you can also see, improvements in data availability are not limited to a single region. In the 1990s, few countries made such data available. A jump in the availability of data in Europe and North America is visible around 2003, and data availability in other regions grew more steadily. As of December 2020, at the end of when we created the report, the single year that had the most data on gender in public administration was 2015. It became clear to us, as it will be to you, that rates of women's participation in public administration is necessary, but insufficient to understand women's access to decision-making positions. Our first panel on glass ceilings will present 3 different measures of decision-making positions that are included in GenPACS. With this figure, we highlight the regional variation in the use of these 3 measures. When we look at measures of decision-making across countries, it's important to understand that we're not always comparing apples to apples. Public administrations are structured differently. Leadership positions within public institutions are conceptualized and measured in varied ways, and data are collected, housed, and processed through diverse means. In GenPACS, we carefully evaluate countries' measurements of decision-making to enable fairer cross-national comparisons. Our second panel on glass walls will demonstrate that gender inequality in public administration not only exists across levels, but also across policy areas and government functions. As shown here, however, complete gender disaggregated data by level and ministry are rare. Indeed, only 15 countries report complete ministry level data for both overall employees and decision-making positions. Still, at least some ministerial or sectoral data are available for 103 countries and territories. Our third and final panel turns to the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Women have been at the forefront of fighting the pandemic as educators, health workers, and unpaid care providers. But they've also been relegated to the back seat when it comes to pandemic decision-making. The pandemic led our working group to partner with UNDP and UN Women to produce data on women's representation in and leadership of COVID-19 task forces. These data were publicly released in March as part of the UNDP UN Women COVID-19 Global Gender Response Tracker. Our data spans 334 COVID-19 task forces across 187 countries and territories. This heat map shades the number of task forces with available data by country. We also coded task forces by their membership and their policy focus to better understand gendered patterns in COVID-19 response. In the next three panels, our students will showcase the findings from the 2021 report on gender equality in public administration. The first panel focuses on glass ceilings and global patterns in women's public administration leadership. The second panel turns to glass walls, including gender equality across policy areas and a more intensive focus on environmental ministries. And our third panel focuses on the current context facing public administrations. We evaluate gender equality in health ministries and on COVID-19 task forces. We look forward to the feedback from our invited panelists and questions from the audience as we chart the next phase of our research. Thank you. It's our pleasure to now turn to our first panel, which is on glass ceilings. Our Gepa working group presentation will be followed by reflections from two panelists.